Hi there, my name is Shayla and I am a liberal studies major here at CSUP. Due to COVID-19, we are now on a remote learning program. And because of that, my peers and I are making videos that keep your kids active in learning. You can find these videos on our YouTube or Facebook page called Dr. Mom Math Madness. So today, we are going to do activities with rulers. But before we start doing those activities, we're going to review the ruler itself. So if you don't have a ruler like I have here, you can print one off. I found these on the internet, and maybe your parents can help you find them and print them off for you. So the first thing that we're going to look at is we're going to see a difference. There's two sides to a ruler, right? So one side, two sides. So the first side is inches, and then the second side is centimeters. So a good way to distinguish the difference between inches and centimeters when you're looking at a ruler is inches. You could see that the numbers and the lines are further apart. When you look at centimeters, you can tell that the lines are closer together and the numbers are also closer together. So remember, inches further apart, centimeters closer together. When we start doing our activities, we're going to notice that we're measuring to whole inches and to half inches, and to whole centimeters and half centimeters. So I'm going to show you guys how you can look to see when there's a half inch, for example. So this is 1 inch, and then in between these lines, there's 15 lines between 1 inch and 2 inches. So the halfway mark looks like this, and it is the 1/8 mark. So there's 15 marks to get to 2, and the 1/8 mark is a half. When you're looking at centimeters, you notice that there's I think there's 10 marks, and the 5th mark is a half. So this long line that drops down, notice how these lines don't drop down all the way. So that's a half. So the 5th mark's a half. So when you look at the ruler as whole, there's 30 centimeters and 12 inches in a ruler. So now that we know what each side of the ruler represents, we're going to use each side to measure some lines on the worksheets that I would have given you guys if you were still in class. So the first worksheet we're going to do today is based on whole inches. So to give you an example of what we would have done is we would have gotten our ruler, and we have to remember that we line up our ruler with the very first tick on the ruler. So if you see, this is the very first one, to the last one the line reaches, okay, which is 2. And then if we did another one, we're going to line up the ruler the same way. We're going to go all the way down. So the first one, we'll make sure that's lined up, okay, and it reaches all the way to 4 inches. So we had 2 inches and 4 inches. Okay, so then the next worksheet I would have given you is we're going to do half inches. So this time we are going to be measuring worms. So we're going to line up our ruler the same way. I know that they're not straight lines, but it doesn't matter. You're still going to set up the ruler with the first tick at the very end of the object, and then you're going to see, make sure it lines up, and then you're going to go all the way down. So remember, I said that it's the 1/8 mark. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 3.5 inches. Let's try. Okay, so now that one was 3.5 inches. Let's try this one. So I measured it up the same way. And I noticed if we go all the way to the edge of his goggles, this worm is 2.5 inches. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's that 8 line. And see how it drops down? Long, but not longer than a hole. That's a half. So 2.5 inches. Okay, so now if we look at our last worksheet I would have given you, it deals with centimeters. So this one has cars instead of worms. So we're going to do it this. So the first car we're going to do we're going to line it up from bumper to bumper because that's when the car ends and that's where the car starts. So if we measure it just the same way we did with the ruler, the very edge, the longest one that you could start with, and then to the end, we see that it's 7 whole centimeters. Let's try another one. Let's go to this car. So we're going to set it up bumper to bumper. And we are going to see that it is 8 centimeters. Okay, friends, so now that we know how to use our ruler, let's do the activity that we are going to do today. So, since you don't have these worksheets at home, what we're going to do is we're going to change up the activity a little bit. So, you guys are going to go around your homes and pick objects or any items that you want that you think are as long as your ruler. So, not bigger than 12 inches and not longer than 30 centimeters. So, I grabbed my dance shoe. So we are going to also grab a scratch piece of paper to record our measurements. So I'm going to write dance shoe on my piece of paper. And now I'm going to measure how long my dance shoe is. So remember, I'm going to go to the edge of the ruler to the nearest centimeters. So you're measuring the nearest centimeter and the nearest half centimeters. So measure to the nearest. So my dance shoe is 11 inches. Now we're going to switch our ruler to the other side and do centimeters. My shoe is 28 centimeters long. So that's for object 1. And then my second object was my phone. So I'm going to do centimeters first on this one. But remember, I got to record, so I'm going to write down phone. So going to edge, it is 15 and a half centimeters. And we're going to switch back to inches. My phone is 6 inches long. So I measured it this way. Okay, and my final and third object is going to be my mom's computer. So I'm going to measure how long it is. So I'm going to go from here to here. So it's 12 inches long. And it is 30 centimeters long. So like I said, you guys can go around the house and pick any 3 objects you want. And if you don't have any objects that you think would be 12 inches or 30 centimeters, you can have your parents draw lines on a piece of paper for you, and you can measure those lines using a ruler. So the main point of this is to get you guys to learn how to use a ruler and to get you guys to understand the differences between centimeters and inches. So now we're going to move on to answer some math talk questions. So one math talk question I'm going to ask you is, how do you know which object is longer than the other? So thank goodness I recorded my answers. So let's look back. So the dance shoe was 11 inches and 28 centimeters. The phone was 15 and a half centimeters and 6 inches. The computer was 12 inches and 37 centimeters. If we want to compare inches between all the objects, we saw that the dance shoe was 11 inches. The phone was 6 inches and the computer was 12 inches. So we know that 6 inches is smaller than both 11 and 12. We know that 12 is bigger than 11, so the computer was the biggest object. All right, let's answer the next math talk question. So the question is, what strategies did you use to measure the different objects? So kind of what I did was I used the ruler, and remember how I counted? I knew that the 8th line was the ½ inch for the centimeters, and that the 5th line was the half way mark in the centimeter side, on the centimeter side. So that's kind of the strategy that I used. And I also made sure and lined up my very end mark with where my object started and where my object ended. So those are very good strategies to keep in mind when you're using a ruler. So friends, I hope this was a fun lesson, and I hope you can gather as many objects as you can around your house and start measuring them. I miss you all, and I hope you're staying safe. Check back for more videos. Bye!